Welcome back, everybody. In this episode, Kyle and I tell the stories of how our crypto journeys began. We discuss what attracted us to the space, the best resources for beginners, and potential careers in crypto. Let us know if you enjoyed this different style of episode.
Let's get into it. Crypto space. Big lovers. Sam, you want to just tell us how you even came across this? Flashback in time right now.
Okay.
Imagine yourself, you don't even know Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? How do you first come across it?
Okay. So I guess not even super long ago, but back in 2020, I first came across Discord, and I was joining some communities, meeting some people. And there's this one Discord. It was called Main Street Wolf, because back in this was like June, July 2020. It was still like a bear market, and a lot of Discords weren't really talking about it, especially since we were piggybacking off the 2020 bottom, and every stock was just going straight up. So that's all anyone was doing was trading options and stuff. But I found this Discord called Main Street Wolf, and I met It's Ben, who we had on the podcast a couple episodes ago.
Yes, sir.
And him and the founder of that Discord, Main Street Wolf, they were dollar cost averaging into ETH and Bitcoin when ETH was $300, Bitcoin was $10K, and I was what is this? And they weren't even in there we were mostly talking about stocks and stuff, but they did give there was a crypto channel, a Bitcoin channel, an ETH channel, and they did talk a little bit about it, and I paid attention because I was literally on Discord all day for some. I spent so much time on Discord.
Are you not still on Discord all day?
Not at all. I spent a couple hours, but back then it was so bad. It was 6 hours a day on Discord.
Oh yeah, I forgot you had your whole day scheduled.
Well, this
open,
is 2020.
Yeah.
So this was summer, and then so I learned a little bit the very basics, what it is, I still barely knew what it was, but for whatever reason.
So what would you say the very little basics is
it's called a cryptocurrency. You could build stuff called smart contracts on ETH. That was the extent of my Ethereum knowledge. And then Bitcoin's decentralized, and there's a supply limit. That's all I knew.
Okay.
Because I guess I just wasn't super interested in it at the time. But I started buying a little bit, so little that it just pains me to think about it to this day, because it was so low.
Yeah.
And so I guess that went on, and then late 2020, October, November, that's when the bull market kind of started, and it just started taking off. And literally every day ETH would go up $100, and it went from 300 to 3,000 in 3 or 4 months. And that's when I really started I got interested, obviously, because everyone was making so much money around me. And so I started learning a little bit more, still not a super large amount. So that went on, and then we got into 2021, I guess. And in April, I met a guy named Vile in another Discord, and he was doing these things called shitcoins, which are just worst, most trashiest cryptos that you can find, and they're at hundreds of thousands of dollars market caps, maybe low millions. And you just buy them and get out as fast as you can. Yeah, that's
very far from crypto though. That
yeah.
all that stuff is literally just
But that was when I really started getting actual MetaMask wallets, that using exchanges, and I met a lot of people during that time that taught me pretty much everything I know. Specifically, my friend Dom, who taught me how to use MetaMask, showed me people to follow on Twitter, and I probably owe a lot to him.
Yeah.
But ever since then, I've just gotten more and more and more interested, to the point where now I just spend more time in crypto than I do in traditional markets.
Yeah, I remember when you first told me about that mainstream Wolf Discord, and we would talk about Bitcoin, and we would just be oh, this Bitcoin thing, and we're what is it? Yeah. And you'd be dude, I'm in this Discord, and they have a whole section just for Bitcoin, and it's a whole chat, and I'm wait, what? Why would they do that? Because I didn't understand the magnitude it is now. And you look back on it now, and it's there's freaking whole chats just for Bitcoin, whole Discord servers and Twitter accounts and whatnot. But the way I actually came across, I didn't really come across it in middle school, but I remember I don't know why I remember this, but we were talking about it in middle school in 8th grade, when it was on its way up, and I remember sitting at I don't know why I have this vivid memory, but it's we were sitting at the lunch table and talking about Bitcoin, and it was at whatever $13,000 at its high, and then it came back down, and we were what is this thing? And then never talked about it again. And then I came across it back in 2020, and I mean, I started I've always had a passion for finance and money and whatnot. So I always knew how valuable investing was, but I literally didn't know what Bitcoin was. And I think I'm sure it was like being friends with you, and like you came across it through Discord, and then you like mentioned it to me. And I just was like, oh, what is this Bitcoin thing? And I didn't really like buy it, like, because I don't know, I was more like, I just started and I was like, I don't want to buy things that I don't understand. Like I saw like what it did in the past, and I was like so scared, like, because it went up to 13,000, went down to like back to $100 again, and I'm like, why would I buy something that just fluctuates as much? Like I didn't really understand it. And then I just finally was like, okay, well, let me figure out like what this is. And I did a lot more research before I actually bought it. And then I think the first time I actually bought crypto, it was after that big bull run in 2020, and then it was on the way. It was like the pullback, and it was like, I think Bitcoin was at like 30,000 and ETH was at like 1,700 at its lows, and it was like that little consolidation until it hit all-time highs again, which is awesome, like getting in. And then right now it's not so much. now I'm looking back on it now, like, dang, I really could have just kept doing research. But yeah, did you have a background in like coding or finance, or did you really just stumble across it from Discord?
Yeah, I mean, at the time I was like fresh out of high school. I was going to college that upcoming fall, and I really did not have a lot of finance background at all. I had like the very basic investing knowledge from like my dad and my grandfather, but that was pretty much the extent of it. And I hadn't really gotten like super into it, and I didn't even have that much coding experience because I didn't start taking coding classes till college. So I had like some very basic stuff from like seventh grade. My teacher made us take like some coding courses in our math class, which honestly I'm so thankful for that.
Shout out, what school did you go to?
Endeavor Charter School, Mr. Moreno. Thank you, Mr. Moreno. But yeah, that was really the extent of it, and that's like all 2020 I kind of spent learning about it. And then recently, like my freshman year of college, late 2020, we started getting into coding classes, and that's when I really figured out like this is something that I really like.
Yeah, coding. I've never been too much into coding. I started like Python. Like I did a Python thing, but it wasn't like in relation to Bitcoin, because it wasn't. I just was like, oh, let me try it because it was fun. And I watched some like 4-hour course on freecodecamp.org YouTube, which we'll get into in a sec. Some YouTube channels. But I just wanted to like touch like how like I came into like investing like in general and like business and entrepreneurship. I mean, like my Opa, he owned a business, and like I saw like the value that it brought him. Like he worked hard, like it was like a 20-year business that he built up, and then like he finally got to the point where like he literally would it was so funny because he would just sit on his chair and just fall asleep, and like he would just be in his warehouse and just sleep, and then everyone else would be working around him. And I'm like, dude, this dude's just collecting money, sleeping on a freaking chair that he bought and he rents out to people. That's a write-off. And I was just like, I saw how like valuable it was. And then also he talked about like how like he started to invest like in stocks and like Disney and stuff, and how they bought IBM. My mom's dad like worked at IBM, so I was familiar with that, and he had like stocks from that as well. So that was like really something that just like appealed to me, and I was like, oh, well, it's really good to like have family members. Like a lot of people, like it's hard to like find someone that's into stuff. If your family member isn't into it and they're just like living paycheck to paycheck, it's so hard to like reach out and like find someone else different.
Yeah, especially finance, that's not something that you learn in school, so you kind of have to rely on like outside family and friends to get exposed to it.
Yeah, for sure. But then crypto is just like a whole nother niche, I think. And I think it's really important like to separate it, because it's not like you talk about investing, and then like crypto is like, it's so risky and it's so new right now that it's like so hard to get into. And Discord is like probably one of the best things that we can use, because you can literally reach out to so many people. And I think it's important though, like when we're talking about Discord, it's important like you can like meet someone and like they might say, oh, I really like Bitcoin, but if you just listen to them and buy Bitcoin, then it's not going to do you too well in the long term. So like did you have like some resources that like someone like recommended to you, or like how did you branch out from just listening to someone saying I'm buying ETH to like, oh, let me do some own research? And what did you go out to?
So in that Main Street Wolf Discord, it's been Main Street Wolf and a couple other people. I'm sorry, I forget their names, but they were the ones who were buying it, and they would have conversations in the channels. And granted, I didn't really understand a lot of it back then. I just kind of saw it as like, oh, this is like some technology that might be big. Like I didn't even understand it was like gonna be like something that gets into like finance. I was so like, I really wish I had dove deep, but yeah, so they would occasionally link like, because back then like Medium articles, that was what was really popping, like Medium articles and Reddit forums.
Yeah. I remember you were always on Reddit sending screenshots and stuff, especially with the shit coins.
Oh yeah. But they would link a lot of those, like a lot of like reading and articles, and I would read some of those occasionally, and I did come to realize like, okay, maybe this isn't like, it's not just like, because I literally saw it as like, oh, this is like a computer, like it's just a little technology. And I started to realize like, okay, this like actually has like some sort of use in the future. So I did like started buying a little bit, but it really wasn't until a lot later. That was when like I met more people through different Discords, and I came to like Twitter. Twitter taught me a lot, because there's so many people on Twitter that will just post like threads that are just super helpful, and just link other to like external sites like YouTube videos and stuff like that. I wish I had found more YouTube videos back then. I know you found Whiteboard Crypto, which is such a good tool.
I'll get into that in a second.
Get into that for sure. I wish I had found that earlier.
Yeah, it's really weird, like, because especially when you went through like the shitcoin stuff, like you'll just see like, it was on TikTok at one point, it was literally like random posts, like it would be like a post about like some meme or something, and you would click the comments and it'd be like AMC to the moon, GME to the moon, and then just shitcoins came in and it'd be like just random coins. Oh, what was the biggest one? The safe moon.
Yeah, safe
and
moon.
It's just like, you don't know, like those people are not quality people. They're just someone behind the screen just shilling their own coin, and it's really good like to branch out and figure out stuff on your own. And then so like what I basically one of the first like really big tools that I watched was like the MIT courseware. It was, I think I mentioned it in past episodes. Gary Gensler, he's actually the chairman of the SEC. He's a super intelligent guy. I think this past week actually he called Bitcoin a commodity. He said the only crypto right now that's a commodity is Bitcoin, which is honestly, I think it's really big for like, as far as if we have ETFs for oil, then maybe ETFs for commodity of Bitcoin might be next. But yeah, so anyways, the like how I started learning was, I think like what resonated me with like Bitcoin and crypto so much was a lot of people are more like based on the coding side, but there's also the other side of like freedom and like how it like separates you from the government. And like there's people, one of my favorite books that I read actually, which like emphasized this point perfectly, was called The Little Bitcoin Book. And if you guys are listening to this, I honestly, like any resource we mention, I would like write it down. And like, if you haven't watched it or read whatever we do or whatever we mention, then like go on your own time whenever you get a chance, like do the things we say, because they're really helpful to learning. But anyways, yeah, Bitcoin is just like a really freedom, like it really emphasizes freedom away from the government. And I think right now in like a society, there's a lot like tyranny around the world and everything. And third world countries, they're like abusing their citizens and like not allowing them to have banks. Some of them, they don't really have the option because their finances aren't right, or they aren't as developed. But like Bitcoin allows people to move freely and move money freely. And that's just something that really resonated me with like the value of crypto and how it was this decentralized thing. And now it can help everyone in the world with this problem of like tyrannical governments.
I guess, would you say like, obviously those resources helped you get exposed to it. Like any significant people that kind of got you into crypto?
Honestly, at the start, it was probably just like you and like some people on Discord was probably like the most significant people. But actually, funny story, like recently, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, this dude reaches out to me like at work, and I'm just sitting there at work, and he walks up to me and he's like, hey, how you doing? How's business? And I'm like, okay. Like I thought it was just some random person that's asking me that, because usually it comes by. And this dude, like, he walks up to me, he's like a different, like he asked me the question, and then he stands there and faces me like he's ready for a conversation, which I think is like a super like powerful skill you can like learn, to just go up and talk to strangers. And he's like, oh yeah, what do you want to do? What are you studying? And he's like, I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I might be a financial advisor. I mentioned it. He's like, oh, guess what? I'm a financial advisor. I'm like, oh, okay, no way. So this dude, we end up getting coffee together, and he tells me about like, this dude is, I don't know exactly his age, but he's of the older generation. And when you talk to someone like that, you usually don't expect them to be so interested in like crypto and like alternative assets. And this dude brings a book to the coffee shop, and he walks me through like, it's a book on all alternative assets, and he says how valuable crypto is. And that was something that like I really, even though it was so recent, like it really made me like think about like, this is really taking over, because it's not just like a little fad that young people have. It's a fad that like older people the more they're learning, the more they're picking up on it, and they realize how important it is too. How about you? Do you have any? I mean, other than the people you mentioned in Discord.
I mean, what you said, like I think that's obviously key, because Obviously, there's the people that are that got into crypto, and obviously like even like the older generation, people in like economics and traditional finance who see like, oh, Bitcoin it's like the freedom of expression, and they see like the certain aspects of it that appeal to them. But then you have the people like celebrities and even just younger people who just are like, oh, Bitcoin go up, go buy Bitcoin, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just really easy to see like, okay, this is so dumb, this is a fad.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, obviously some people that I met through Discord. I mentioned Dom. He showed me how to use a MetaMask. He helped me create an ENS name. I owe a lot to him. He walked me through like different exchanges. I honestly, I can't really think of too many other people. I mean, there's a lot of people around me like you, that we just constantly like kept talking about it, looking more into it, and from there I met like some people on Twitter, and to the point like now like I'm so obsessed with it.
Yeah, it's so good to have like people around you to bounce ideas off of, because like you could have one perspective on something and they could have another perspective, but if you guys like clash and like talk through the opinion on something, then you might come out with a stronger opinion than before. So it is nice to. Do you have any like tips for like people, like if someone has like if their family members like aren't interested in finance, do you think like what's like the best way to reach out to someone and know like they're a legit person? Because obviously you've seen both sides, so have you noticed any like differences?
Yeah. So like you like on Discord or something?
Yeah,
like yeah.
Or Twitter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously there's like so many like fake people. I guess just like have an actual conversation, and you'll like pretty quickly realize like, is this person real or fake?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people. I mean, usually it's pretty easy to tell because they'll say something like wanting to scam you or something, or like even not even that, like people who pretend like something that they are something that they're not. Like people that say like, oh, I've been in crypto so long, you should buy this coin, and like you could obviously fall for that. Just like have a genuine conversation, and you'll honestly learn a lot, and then start to realize like, oh, like this makes sense, this is a smart guy, or like, wait a second, that's not right.
Yeah. And then you can learn what they are saying, and then go do your own research for yourself, like on YouTube. And like Whiteboard Crypto, honestly, is such. Dude, I found them when they were at like 100,000 followers. Dude, I'm so happy that I found them. I mean, I wish I could have bought an NFT on them, but I think they're now. I just watched like a video from them yesterday. And it was like they're up to like 800, 900,000 followers, which is insane, the growth they're doing. And it's just one guy that runs the account, and he does like little graphics, and he's like becoming a dad too, which he made a video about. So he said he might take some breaks off the video during the bear market. Maybe he'll come back in time for the bull market. But it's such a good resource where you could literally just watch it, and it's like 10-minute video. And honestly, go watch like any video that attracts you. And you're like, oh, I want to learn more about blockchain. It's such a perfect video. As far as other like resources I also read another book called Economic Narratives, which it was more of like a more broad economic book, but there was a chapter that was specifically on digital assets. So even if you like have a book, if you have a local library, see if the local library has a book, and if you're just interested in the crypto chapter, just read the crypto chapter, because it's really like it's cool to like see the perspective, and it's just a quick learn. Do you have any like books or YouTube channels that you found, or podcasts even?
Podcasts is mostly what I listen to. Anything like literally anything by Kevin Rose I listen to. Proof and Modern Finance are his podcasts.
Obviously after ASAP Finance, because that's up at the top.
I don't even need to mention them because that's so obvious. Unchained, another podcast. Bankless can be good. They have a lot of stuff where they just like sit there and chill Ethereum.
Yeah.
But they have some good guests on. Honestly, podcast is mainly the number one resource I use. I don't read a lot of crypto books, which I probably should, but
yeah, it's nice like seeing like the older, because most people that are authors are older, and like podcasts are kind of, especially Bankless, they're super young, which is awesome that they're doing that and they're already at the top. But yeah, you're right. I don't know. There are a lot of it's a lot of ads too, and like I don't like the structure of their entire podcast. I wish it was more, when they have guests on, I like that a lot better because it's actual like conversation. But when they're just going back and forth, just talking like random stuff, it's not that interesting to me.
And they've gotten to the size where they can have some pretty notable guests. So those are the episodes that I do listen to.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome how easy it is like just to plug in a podcast and just listen to it, whether you're in the car or whatnot. Do you have any like plans as far as like when you're getting older? Like, do you want to like, I know you're into coding and whatnot that you started into, and then like what else is there that you would think like 10 years from now, what's your dream? If you had to choose, obviously there's a lot of jobs that you could choose, but like 10 years from now, if you're in a dream blockchain sector, what is the job that you have?
Honestly, I want to get into like Solidity and JavaScript and all the different languages that are used in crypto, and be able to like program for different projects. just because it's such a cool gig where like you can do it freelance, meaning like you don't have to sit there 9 to 5 every day and like have something that you're doing. And also it's one of the like easiest remote jobs where like you can do it, like any project you do there, like you can do remote. So I think it'd be cool if like in like 10 years I have a little side thing where I'm just like, oh, someone reaches out and like, oh, we need your help, blah blah blah. Obviously probably later along the 10 years, maybe not, but where I'm doing like freelance blockchain programming for different projects. And even if it gets to the point where like I come on for like a bigger project, that would be pretty cool. And even like if I was doing that, if you know, you look into the project that you're working for and you're like, oh, this is pretty neat, you can be like, don't even pay me in fiat or ETH or whatever, pay me in your native currency. And I think that would be pretty cool.
I think it's so awesome, like how many different like options there are, like as far as like you can join, like you can do blockchain, but there's so many like different sectors of blockchain inside of itself, so you can really find something that you really enjoy. For me, like personally, I don't know if I'd see myself ever doing a full-time job in blockchain. I actually applied for an internship at Coinbase. It was like a policy internship, and then it's basically just like they're like comparing public policy to Bitcoin and crypto, which is really super early right now. They literally have like no policy on it. I know Biden just like written an executive order that said like they have to start thinking about it, but there's nothing like in place yet. And I think it would be super cool, like maybe in the future, if like I did something that like helped the public and like government people understand it more. I don't know how exactly that would work, or like maybe just like a podcast. That's what we're doing right now. But as far as like coding, I don't know. I'm more on like the not logical side, like the thinking abstract idea of crypto. But yeah, it would be cool to like own an ETF or something like that. Or yeah. I wish they would have like a tax. Like, I really hope brokers allow you to invest crypto into their, like, I know you can like open like a separate Roth IRA, like tax advantaged account, and then you like do some loophole behind it. But I really want like Fidelity or Charles Schwab to just be like, yes, you can buy Bitcoin and Ethereum on your Roth IRA and not have to worry about taxes. Like, that would be super cool if I could get to a point where it's like I'm with a group of people and we're like going to Congress, like, or we propose like this thing and everyone can do that. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be cool. See what happens.
That would definitely be pretty cool if you go pull up to Congress and start pitching crypto to them.
Yeah. I mean, people do that like in their local, like you can do that in your local law house. Like, just go up and be like, hey, we need this. Like, whether it's a random like something not to do with crypto or anything. So anyone could really do that, which is awesome.
Kevin O'Leary was pitching like Bitcoin to Congress like a couple weeks ago, I think. I watched a YouTube video. Honestly, he's such a smart guy, and you should listen to that video. Maybe we'll link it in the comments or something. But it's crazy because like he's obviously such a wealthy guy. And he says he owns like 20 some different coins, and like 20% of his wealth is in crypto.
Jeez. Oh yeah, I was just listening to Kevin. What's his name? Kevin O'Leary, and he said he was on the podcast, and it was like 32% of his net worth, and that dude is rich. He has like 32 different coins, which is insane. But yeah, I like this episode. Hopefully, you guys learn more like about where we came from, and I mean, we aren't super knowledgeable. We definitely have a lot to learn. Like, we're so early as well. Like, we're so young, and yeah, just make sure you guys are doing your own research. We aren't financial advisors. We may own positions in security discussed for sure. Thanks for watching.
Peace.